Hey there, so we're going to be talking about 2D arrays today in Java. So we're going to be going over how to initialize some, what are some different ways, how do you put some in, and just kind of what kind of happens when we go through different scenarios. So starting off, we're just making a very basic, just new empty 2D array of ints. So we know it's an int because we declare it right there. And what makes it a 2D array is it has two square brackets. So we'll get into that a little more later what that means, but it has two square brackets, so that means it's two-dimensional. Then here, when we declare it with these twos in the right side of the equation, it means two rows, two columns. So it goes row column always, and then that declares how big it is. So now this little for loop right here, all this does is it goes through the rows for the whole row, it goes through all the columns for the length of the column, and it just prints out what's there. This little for loop, all it does is print it out in a nice readable way. So if we run it, the top right here, what we get is zeros, but you notice how it's two rows, two columns, just like it said it was going to be. And so what this shows us is if you don't declare what's going to be in it, the base value of any int 2D array is going to be 0. It's going to automatically fill it in with 0 for you. So moving on to this S array, we're doing the exact same thing, only with strings, just so we see what the base case is for every scenario. So again, we have our for loop that just prints it out nicely, and when we run it, we get 4 nulls. So null is like the 0 but for strings. So if you have an empty array that you're going to later put stuff in, it's going to start with a null. Now this is a way of declaring a 2D array that you actually know what you want in it. So we make int whatever your array is, the two brackets to show that it's a two-dimensional array, then equals an open bracket. From here, we do however many lines we want of open bracket or open brace, value, comma, value, comma, value, close brace, and then every time you want to go down to a next row, you put a column, then you do the same thing, brace, value, 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 brace. Then when you want to end it, you do a close brace for the whole array, and then a semicolon. So we're doing the same thing where we just print it out so we can read it, and when we run that, you see we get 482 along the first row, 916 on the second row, exactly what we put in. So these can be nice when you're trying to make it like a grid way, or if you want to do or if it's easier to organize things by rows or columns, this is a really nice way to do it. So we can visualize this like a grid. This is at least how I visualize it. So this is a 2D array of 3 rows and 3 columns. Now it's not just 1, 2, and 3, because like we've seen in comp sci with our lists and our indexes of words and stuff, it starts at 0. So it's 0, 1, 2, 0, 1, 2. So if we had to put our values in, and this could be anything, like you could organize this in whatever way you wanted. This could be like names of people, and this could be like grades over semester. And so you could start with person 0, and they could get 50, 23, 42. And so we could just fill out this grid with whatever numbers we wanted. And what this would do is, this is just a way to visualize what we want to do. So now that we've filled out our 2D array, and we know if we left any of these blank, it would add either a 0 in this case or a null. But if we had our, up at the top, our empty int array, and we wanted to add a variable in, or add a value in, sorry, what would we do is we do n array, because that's what this 2D array is called. And then where do we want this value? Let's start with the very first one, 50 at 0, 0, right here. So what we do is at 0, which is the rows, and then at column 0 as well, then that equals 50. And now when we run this, right at the start, there's going to be a 50 right at 0, 0. And I'll switch this to make it 3, 3, so it's the same one that we see up there. 50 right at the start. And we could go through, and if we had to add some over time, let's say, if we were just starting with the first semester, we could do the same thing, but we're doing row 1 this time, column 0 still. That is equivalent to 60. And then for the final one, row 2, it's equivalent to 55. So now when we run it, we have all our grades for our first semester, 50, 60, 55. And this is just a nice simple way of going through, and we can declare our 2D array even if we don't know all the values. We can add values in as we learn them. We can do it through different types like strings or ints. Same thing with floats and doubles. And if we did know the entire array, we could just declare it like this, and we'd have a nice one there that we could access and pull numbers from anytime we wanted, such as system.out.println, and then we're going to do t array at 1 at 1. So since we know that it indexes start at 0, we go 0, 1, 0, 1. So it should print this 1. So when we do it, come all the way down the bottom right here, it prints the 1. So this is how we can pull variables or values from our arrays, and we can add them in. And it's just a really nice way of organizing all your work.